What is up, everybody? Welcome officially to draft season here on That Franchise Guy. I am very excited. I hope you guys are too. We're going to start this thing out going through the top 10 quarterbacks a day before releasing my first mock draft of the season. So make sure you guys subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss that mock draft that will be uploaded tomorrow. Please do hit that like button in honor of the beginning of draft season. And then before we hop into talking quarterbacks here, I do need to say, if you enjoy me talking about the draft, what I have to say about these prospects, two things. Number one, if you've got friends that like the NFL draft, send them my way. Would really help support the channel, striving towards everything I want to accomplish here. But also, yes, there will be a lot here on YouTube. Videos like this, mock drafts, among other things. But if you want the full TFG draft insider package, check out my Patreon. That's patreon.com/thatfranchiseguy. There you will get access to my full draft board. So if you've got sleeper quarterbacks or any position that don't make the top 10 list, you want to see what I have to say about them, you can get it on every prospect in the class. There are also full scouting profiles like this one here on Joe Burrow. Top 10 at each position will be coming out, as well as film breakdowns on my Patreon. I've got big plans ahead for Patreon this year. So if you want the full draft insider package, do go check that out, and we'll see you guys over there. All right, so enough housekeeping. Let's get into the good stuff here, talking about the top 10 quarterbacks in the 2020 NFL Draft. Number one, Joe Burrow. Not going to be a whole lot of surprise there. And, there's some people that hesitate on him, and I get it. There's a couple question marks. He's not the safest number one overall pick of all time or anything, and I get it. I like a big, strong-arm quarterback as much as the next guy. And Joe Burrow's arm strength is closer to like an Andy Dalton, dare you say like Drew Brees, something like that. He doesn't have that cannon, but guys like Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, depending where you come in on Tom Brady, they've gotten by with Hall of Fame careers without that cannon for an arm. And Joe Burrow is an exception like that, where he is able to be accurate and hit guys in stride on all three levels of the field, make every NFL throw you ask accurately despite having that cannon. So I don't think that's necessarily going to be a concern. Yes, he's got the short sample size. Usually when you take a guy first overall, he's going to have a stronger arm and is going to have more production and more starts in his career than Joe Burrow has. But when you look at a guy that just had the most efficient passing season in NCAA history with unbelievable tape, you talk about one of the best processors and decision-making we've seen from college prospects over the last decade. You've got the accuracy, and then the ability to sense pressure, the know-how to extend plays and throw on the run, to take calculated risks. He really does have it all. So while I think there is a risk factor, and perhaps his ceiling might have some limitations because of the arm talent, I think you gotta just take Joe Burrow number one and hope that you're getting just a fraction of the quarterback we saw at LSU, and he will return value with that first overall pick. So no confusion for me with number one. It is Joe Burrow. And then number two here, I think this is the first guy we're going to see some disagreement on here. I think there will be people that have this guy number two out there, and that is Jordan Love. Now, let me make one thing clear. If it weren't for the injury stuff with Tua Tagovailoa, he would be my number two guy, but I do think those are real, and we'll talk about Tua in a little bit. But when I look at Jordan Love, you are taking a chance, and sometimes you just gotta go with your gut on some of these guys. To me, Jordan Love, smart young kid, outstanding athlete, only got better every single week. And no, he didn't have the production, he didn't have the big wins, but strictly looking at his tape, you can see why there's a lot of hype around this guy. He's got the top arm talent that you look for. Can make every throw on the field with pretty good accuracy. I wouldn't say he's got elite accuracy, he misses a few throws, but nothing that's concerning there. And he's not super raw for a young guy out of Utah State. He can process defense, make quick decisions, throw with anticipation in the second level of the defense. Now, you are taking a chance with Jordan Love that he can continue to develop those things, but he definitely showed strides in that regard. And as far as his pocket sense and the athleticism to extend plays, Patrick Mahomes-esque coming out of Texas Tech. And I bring that name up not to say that he's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes, because he is a rare situation. But I do think Jordan Love coming out of Utah State, you can draw some comparisons to Patrick Mahomes in that he probably should sit for a year. There is some risk involved, but he's got all the tools, and he showed enough of being a smart quarterback that can make the right reads and decisions that you have confidence in him turning into that high upside guy. I do have Jordan Love with the highest potential of any quarterback in this class. But again, only fourth for that impact grade as far as how good he is right away. So I look at a team like the Colts, the Patriots, maybe the Steelers trade back into the first round. A team that might have the opportunity to sit a guy for a year, get him really comfortable, and put Jordan Love into a situation with great surrounding talent, and he could really thrive. So Jordan Love is going to come in number 2. I do need to say 2 through 4, you'll notice those overall grades are neck and neck and neck. So it is a matter of preference. I do think Joe Burrow is a tier above these guys, and frankly, 2 through 4, I do have first round grades on these guys, but I don't feel super confident in any of them as top 10 picks. So next is going to be another controversial one, and again, this comes back to Tua's injury stuff. Again, if Tua didn't have the injury stuff, he would be my number 2 quarterback. But Jake Fromm is my number 3 quarterback. And this is the one that's going to get criticized the most. It's probably the number 1 reason a lot of you guys thumbs directed right towards the dislike button right there, because outside of maybe Josh Allen a couple years ago, I can't remember a quarterback that gets as much hate from social media, whatever it is, for whatever reason. No, Jake Fromm didn't put up the stats. He didn't have as many big-time moments, though I will say he made a throw against Notre Dame on the run in the back corner of their end zone that stacks up with any throw any of these guys made this year that led to a big win there. But the number 1 thing about Jake Fromm that literally just blows my mind from reputable scouts out there, I won't name names, but the amount of times that I've had to sit here on podcasts and TV and hear people say that Jake Fromm has a below average arm, that he's got an Alex Smith arm, I just, quite frankly, do not understand it based on his tape. He doesn't have the best arm in this class. He doesn't stack up with the best arms in the NFL, but he's like a Sam Darnold. He's got a very strong arm, and for people to say that it's his arm strength that's his biggest weakness and why he has a low ceiling, I just don't understand that and don't get behind that. I think he's got a very solid arm. And you can cite his lack of production as much as you want. Just looking at Jake Fromm as a player, he's got a lot of strengths. Most notably, and something that I think raises the floor of a lot of college prospects, is he has a borderline elite pocket sense and ability to sense pressure, manipulate the pocket, and extend plays with his feet either inside or outside of the pocket. It's a big reason I like Darnold and Josh Allen, as they were really good in that department. It just allows you to get yourself out of trouble, and that's something that I don't think Jake Fromm gets enough credit for. There is one major concern with Jake Fromm, and that is his just accuracy in general. And this is where you're taking the biggest leap of faith, is that yeah, he was playing with a heavy rotation of young receivers in an offense that asked him to complete a large percent of timing routes on the outside, on comeback routes and stuff that led to some more nasty looking throws. But there were a lot of times where he had a guy coming open on a crossing route and he just wouldn't step into the throw and he'd miss it, or he would just miss it with good technique. So there are accuracy concerns with Jake Fromm, and that all is factored in. But my comparison for him is Jimmy Garoppolo for all those reasons. The pocket sense and play extension is great. And Jimmy Garoppolo, to be fair, I love me some Jimmy, but his ball placement and accuracy is not elite. So Fromm to me is a great kid that's similar to what we said about Jordan Love. I think give him some time, put him in Indianapolis or Pittsburgh or something like that where he can, not be asked to start right away. And I think he can be a top 16 starter or so in the NFL. And now we get to Tua Tagovailoa. And as I've said multiple times, he would be my number 2 quarterback, but he gets dinged for the injury stuff. And I really do think it's real. His lower body just doesn't seem to hold up. And if you're talking about taking a guy in the top 10, that's a major concern for me. As far as him as a player, he's incredibly accurate. One of the most accurate quarterbacks you'll ever see. His arm talent is good, not great. And he does a pretty good job of sensing pressure and extending plays. despite the fact that he was playing behind an elite offensive line at Alabama. You didn't get to see that quite as much, especially when he's missing games for injury. Now, the one thing I will say about Tua, because he's a pretty safe prospect, though you might have some questions about the upside as far as his arm talent, and I don't think he's some elite mobile athlete, though he is mobile. The one big thing about Tua is just going through his entire season of tape, way too many games, he makes a couple easy throws to wide open receivers, and they're up 28-0. And you don't see a traditional game script. You don't see a lot of Tua taking traditional dropbacks and reading defenses like an NFL quarterback would have to do. So you are taking a bit of a leap of faith with Tua. I don't think he's quite as safe as everyone says, because he is going to need to prove that he can do that 30, 35 times a game, make the right reads, process defenses, make the right decisions, and throw into tighter windows that he didn't have to do at Alabama. So you don't knock a guy for not having to do that, but you can't also put it on his scouting report that he's able to, look at tight coverage and make the tough throws when the game's on the line. He just didn't really have to show that at Alabama. So those are my top 4. Again, those are the top first-round guys. All the guys I would say should be first-round picks based on my evaluations. And now we get to number 5, and this is going to be the last probably controversial guy on here, and this is going to be Nate Stanley out of the University of Iowa. And I say controversial because a lot of you guys are going to be wondering, where is Justin Herbert? And we'll talk about Justin Herbert in just a minute. But to me, Nate Stanley, if I'm going to take a chance on a senior with a rocket arm who can do some things with his feet, can extend some plays, I'm doing it on Nate Stanley, not Justin Herbert. For one, he's just significantly more accurate. We'll talk about Herbert's accuracy in a second. But his arm talent, while it's not top 5 in the NFL, elite like Justin Herbert, is exceptional. He's one of the strongest arms in this class, and you pair it with the accuracy. He, to me, shows a much better ability to process defenses and make the right decisions. He's not a perfect quarterback. My comparison for him is Jacoby Brissett. He will miss the occasional throw. He isn't going to pick up a ton of first downs with his feet, but that big body, he can shrug off some sacks and extend some plays as well, both inside and outside the pocket. The thing I like the most about Nate Stanley as opposed to Justin Herbert is he actually showed development over his career. He was a gamer and came back to Iowa, not that he was going to come out anyway, but really developed. And by the end of his senior season was one of the top quarterbacks in college football and was really hard to stop. So Nate Stanley is my number 5 quarterback, and you can really say a lot of that about Jacob Eason. I just think Nate Stanley is where a lot of people hope Jacob Eason will be next year. But let's talk about Justin Herbert, who's my number 6 quarterback. And I see it. I see the arm talent. He will have a top 5 arm in the NFL, if not top 3, the second he gets drafted, which is great. And he is very mobile. But Justin Herbert, for a guy that came back for his senior year, didn't show a lick of development. There's reports, a great article by Sports Illustrated, that really smart kid, but a family guy, and someone that didn't even look at his draft stock before deciding to come back to school. Had no idea where he was going to get drafted if he did come out. A science major, likes baseball, basketball. All the signs are pointing towards Herbert as a guy that just isn't as invested into the sport of football as you need to be to get to that level. And it shows in his tape, which is what is the most concerning thing. He doesn't process defenses. He reads his receivers, not defenses. He is remarkably inaccurate. Guys, I liked Josh Allen, but I also noted Josh Allen's accuracy. I had a top 10 grade on Josh Allen. Justin Herbert doesn't sniff how accurate Josh Allen is. Every time Justin Herbert steps back to throw the ball, I'm holding my breath and praying to God that he doesn't overthrow the ball. And I don't want that as a quarterback, as a starter, or as a guy that I'm spending a first-round pick on. And beyond that, he's a first-read guy. He's got all the same criticisms you'd have of a Mitch Trubisky, where he'll make his first read. If it's not there, he's either going to force something or he's going to run. He bails from clean pockets way too often. There are way too many issues on Justin Herbert. I currently have a 2nd to 4th round grade on him. If you want a high upside project in the 2nd, 3rd round, sure, go ahead and take Herbert over Nate Stanley. Personally, my preference is to take the guy that's actually a little more capable right now, who still has some upside in Nate Stanley. But my comparison for Justin Herbert is Paxton Lynch. Now we got Jacob Eason. he's kind of the worst of these three guys. Stanley, Herbert, and Eason, to me, are all kind of higher upside projects that you could get day 2. Now, Herbert probably won't be there. Someone will probably reach for him and take him in the first round based on my evaluation. But Eason isn't the worst. He's somewhat accurate, just a little slow on his processing, his decision making. After sitting out a year, getting ready to play at Washington, was definitely not as ready to take over that offense as I would have hoped. He's fine. He's a day 2 project. I would definitely not take him in the first round. He's kind of that big-armed pocket passer type with, so mobility. And then we've got another kind of teardrop down here to the last 3 guys on this list. So number 8 is Steven Montez. Now, a lot of you guys know I loved me some Nathan Peterman coming out of Pittsburgh. Just kind of looked like an NFL quarterback, strong arm, mobile, good at sensing pressure and extending plays. That all applies to Steven Montez. But the thing with him is you got some accuracy concerns. He's got probably average accuracy in regards to the class as a whole, but also just will trust his eyes too much and force a lot of balls that he shouldn't. He will throw mistakes. So I do think Nathan Peterman is a great comparison here. A lot of people think Nathan Peterman is the worst quarterback in the entire NFL. That's just not true. He's got a bad rap. There's upside here with Steven Montez that I like, and there's a lot of plays that he make that make you kind of go, wow. He's got that quickness inside the pocket. He can extend plays and elude pressure and do all that stuff. He's got a good arm, can throw on the move. Definitely a project, but I do like some Steven Montez. In the right fit, he could be a good find in the 4th round or so. Then Cole McDonald, a surprising guy to declare coming out of Hawaii. A redshirt junior, guess he finished his classes maybe and was just ready to get out. I don't think he's going to be a crazy high draft pick despite the early declaration. My comparison for him is Nick Foles. And I tweeted out that no one on this planet can convince me that Cole McDonald is anything other than Nick Foles. And you guys know I'm pretty low on Nick Foles. I think he's a high-end backup, a very terrible starter if he found himself in a starting situation. And the thing with Nick Foles is he's pretty good at seeing the field, making some reads, but he has what you might call a confident processor. When he's got his mind made up, he's throwing the ball. Not a whole lot of throwaways, not a whole lot of running to extend plays. When shit hits the fan, he's going to put the ball up. And that's kind of Cole McDonald. He's got an average arm. I've heard people say he's got a rocket arm. I didn't see it myself on tape. He's pretty accurate considering what I regard to be a slightly above average arm. And he is confident. He's going to make some plays. I think he's a good career backup type. I just don't necessarily see the ceiling there that maybe you see with guys like Montez or even Eason, Herbert, Stanley, those guys. And then number 10 here, Jake Luton. Took a while for me to get to this guy because he's definitely pretty under the radar. Now, his ratings, if you do get my draft board, are very close to the next 4 guys. I think you're getting to a point where you're really just throwing darts. I do think Luton is a draftable prospect, and he kind of fits the whole, Tom Brady narrative. Not saying he's going to be Tom Brady, obviously, but stylistically, he plays similar. He's a pocket guy. He is very accurate. He's one of the more accurate quarterbacks in this class, and he also has some of the best ability to process defenses and make quick decisions. He's got a nice, clean release. One thing is his arm talent's not all that great. You can really see it when he tries to throw outside or throws deep. He gets, away with it for the most part, but I think that will limit him a little bit. It will limit his opportunities to impress coaches, but I do like Jake Luton. He's also a little more athletic than you'd think, and I think he's one of those rare situations where his height does help him. Being 6'6", a lot of scouts and GMs would say that's a good thing. A lot of tall quarterbacks just haven't made it, but I do think Jake Luton uses that to the best of his advantage to really survey the defense and be a good decision maker inside the pocket. So I do like him. I think if you put him in a system where he needs to get rid of the ball quick, assess defenses quickly, short to intermediate passes, he could be a high caliber backup, or maybe he really puts it together between the ears and becomes a starting caliber guy. So that's my top 10 quarterbacks. Again, guys, if you want rankings on other guys beyond the 10 we talked about here, head over to my Patreon. Please do hit that like button. Really excited that we're here in draft season. Excited for my mock draft tomorrow. So we'll see you there. Cheers as always. Peace.